Okay, I think we are live. So we will just wait for some people to show up. We have our first viewer. Nice. Welcome. Your username is a giant concatenation of underscores. So I don't know what to call you. I'll call you underscore. I'm wondering if I should move somewhere with better lighting. This seems okay though. I'm going to post in the Discord. You know what? I'm going to welcome 2 more people. Oh, someone says we need a link. It's not showing up yet. Let me get a link. Thanks for the class. Never lucid dream before. Well, hopefully this will help. I can't guarantee that within 3 weeks you'll have a lucid dream, but I would imagine the chance will be higher. How do I get a link to this live stream? No problem. If someone has a link to this, can they post it in the Discord? Because people in the, oh, someone did that. Oh, thank you. So we're welcome, yeah. So we're just gonna wait a few minutes for people to show up. It might take, yeah, I don't know how many people are actually gonna show up. I imagine many will be watching later, so I won't wait too long. But if people in chat, I'm curious, just because I know I did the survey on the Discord. I don't know how many of you are coming from there, but if you want to just mention what your experience is with lucid dreaming, how many you've had, if you've had any, how long you've been practicing, just so I have an idea of the audience here. Nice. And now everyone's embarrassed. Okay. I thought it was interesting in the survey too so far. I can't stay lucid for long though. Gotcha. I think the second class will be helpful for that scenario. Only lucid dream one time. September, learning lucid since February. All right, nice. Okay, now they're all. I wonder if there's a delay to the chat. There might be. Right here, on and off for 4.5 years at 13. 13, nice. Waking up 3 seconds after. Yeah, so a lot of problem with like stabilization and losing the dream shortly after becoming lucid, which is a really common thing. And we'll definitely talk about that in the second class more. But just while we're waiting, I mean, in general, the like standard advice for maintaining a dream and for stabilizing it is to, well, one is like if you haven't had many lucid dreams, you're going to be really excited when you become lucid. And so it's natural to wake up. And that's just something that you'll get over once you have more and more lucid dreams. But um, in general, you want to try to interact with the dream as much as possible, immerse your senses in the dream world, touch things, feel things, notice things, notice the sight, what you're seeing visually in the dream, and don't think about your body in bed. Because if you think about your body in bed or focus on physical sensations in bed, it's really easy to just wake up. But also, if you do wake up from a lucid dream, all is not necessarily lost. You can stay still and often basically perform a dream exit induced lucid dream, which is where you can just go right back into your dream if you don't awake your body too much. So that's another thing you can practice. Can you tell us a little bit about your own journey while we wait? Sure, yeah. I was going to talk about this at the very beginning anyway, but so I mean, I want to be respectful of people's time, so maybe we'll just start, and as people show up, they can just catch up on what they missed later. So let me bring up. I do have a couple notes that I'll be posting later, although I kind of want to clean them up a little bit. But I'll give a little bit of background about myself. So I started lucid dreaming 11 years ago in 2011? Yeah, 20. It might have been 2010. It was during my senior year of high school. Actually, I think it was 2010. Yeah, towards the end of 2010, during my senior year of high school. I actually don't remember how I found out about lucid dreaming. I think I was searching about something online and it came up in an article and I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. I want to learn how to do this. And then I found back then it was like Dream Views was this forum that was really kind of the biggest online community, at least that I could find at the time. And I um, started just reading up on that, learning about everything I could, practicing, and um, it's been, a journey of ups and downs. And this is something that I'll talk a lot about today, is how you stay motivated and stay in it for the long run. Because it isn't like a skill that you learn in a week or a 3-week class, right? Like this is something that for many people, and it varies a lot, but for many people, it can take years to have consistent lucid dreams, sometimes to even have your first lucid dream. I remember reading a post on Reddit at some point where someone was saying that they had finally had their first lucid dream after years of trying. Um, but I do believe, this is a personal opinion, I do believe everyone is capable of having lucid dreams. Took me 34 days to have my first one. Don't give up, guys. Yeah, definitely don't give up. I do believe that everyone is able to do it if they give it the attention that is required. And that's kind of true for everything. Like the more attention you give anything, the better you're going to get at it. I don't want to discourage you. I'm not saying it's going to take you years, right? There's people that have it in their first week of trying. There's people that have it um, in their first month. But it can vary a lot. Some people are naturally doing it their whole lives. I was not one of those people. It took me a little bit of time to learn. I think I had my first lucid dream within I think within a month of trying, but I really wasn't very consistent for a while, and so it took a lot of practice. And there were times during those 11 years where I kind of dropped off it a little bit in college. My first few years, it was really hard to give it attention just because there was so much stuff going on in my life, and it was a new environment, and it was just really stimulating. And in general, if you have a really busy life, maybe you're in school or you're in a really stressful job, right? Or you just have a lot of stuff competing for your attention, right? That can make it a lot harder if you're stressed out about stuff. So we'll talk more about that. Is herbs good for long term? I'll talk briefly about supplements. Yeah, mugwort. I have tried a supplement concoction that included mugwort, but in general, there's going to be like no magic pill that's just going to automatically suddenly, you're not having lucid dreams and now you're having mugwort and you're having them all the time. I don't think that is how it works. Although I would try it. Everyone's different, and different things are going to work for different people. So uh, if you're curious about anything and its ability to help you lucid dream, I'd encourage you to try it for yourself, even if me or anyone else says, I'm not so sure about it. Uh, and that brings me to like a big point, right? Like this class is my personal experience, my based on off my personal experience, and it's my personal opinions. And I'm just one guy, right? I'm just a dude. Like you don't have to listen to me, right? Listen to me if it helps you lucid dream, or if it even if it just helps you give a little bit more attention to the topic. But ultimately, the only person who knows what is going to work best for you is you. And the only way you're going to find out what works best for you is by trying lots of different things over long periods of time. So take what's useful from this class, incorporate it into your practice, see if it works for you, see if it is helpful. And if it is, that's great. And if it's not, don't think that you're doomed, right? If someone says that, this is like, oh, this really worked for me and it's going to work for you too, and then you try it and it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean you can't lucid dream. That doesn't mean that you're not going to find a method that works for you, or that particular method won't work for you. It just means that it didn't happen to work for you that particular night, and that could be for all kinds of reasons. Um, so let's talk briefly about. Oh yeah, yeah. So just like in general, if you take away anything, like before everyone gets bored and leaves, like you can lucid dream. I want to tell you that for sure. You can lucid dream, and it's actually very simple. Like lucid dreaming, anything I think is actually really simple. All it takes is attention. You just have to give it enough attention over enough time. And that's really like that's it. Like all these techniques that we'll talk about a little bit and that people will push online, you know, that's fine, but like it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm following these steps. Okay, wake up, set an alarm, wake up for 3 minutes, check my hair, focus on this, blah blah blah. Like it doesn't have to be that complicated if you don't want it to. You can just think about it, literally just like think about it enough, read about it, focus on trying to achieve achieve a lucid dream or whatever. Pay attention to your dreams. And if you just give it enough attention, eventually I think it will happen. Um, but let's get into a little more concrete. Oh, yeah. You're welcome, Bill Hart. Thank you guys for showing up. Um, let's get into a little more concrete information. And so, briefly, I just want to talk about the structure of this class. We're going to do three roughly 1 hour lectures. This is the first. I don't know if it'll be exactly an hour. I haven't timed myself or anything, so it might be a little bit shorter. Hopefully, it's not too much longer. And after this class, because I think it's nice to be able to hear from each other, I'm going to be opening up, or we can all just like hop in a Discord voice channel or whoever wants to. And if you guys want to talk about your experiences and have a little more to a interaction there, we can do that. Uh, will these streams be, I assume you mean archived? Yes, as far as I am aware, they should be up on YouTube, although it might take like a day or two. Yeah, they should be up here for you to watch whenever, or for people who weren't here. And I know some of you are across the world, and I'm sorry if this is a bad time for you. Hopefully, you're not too tired. But if you are watching this at an inconvenient time, props to you for showing up. So we appreciate it. Um, so let's talk very briefly just about dreams in general, right? Because this is a class about lucid dreams. So what what do we know about like actual dreams? It's interesting because we don't know very much, right? We know that everyone dreams, everyone has dreams every night for the most part if you're sleeping normally, and yet we don't know why. We don't know what function dreams serve. There are some theories about that. Some of them are that they help us basically sort through memories and decide what to commit to long-term memory and what to discard. Some people, like Freud, thought they represented unconscious desires, and anecdotally, you might think that this kind of makes sense. Like if a lot of people have suppressed thoughts and often or fears, and these fears and thoughts can often be situations that you encounter in your dreams. There's a hypothesis that's pretty popular that just says like dreams are totally random, that it's just circuits in your brain becoming active at night, and that you're just experiencing a random compilation of thoughts, images, and emotions. Some people think that it's an evolutionary advantage to have dreams, and so it's natural that nature would create entities that dream. And the reason I think it's an evolutionary advantage is like if entity has the ability to essentially simulate their reality, they can be better prepared for for waking situations because they're able to simulate those situations and practice how they're going to respond to them and react to them. So that's another hypothesis, but ultimately we don't know. Okay, and for me, this is like what makes dreams really interesting is that we don't know so much about them, and that they're so subjective that it is like one of those rare fields where uh, by paying attention to them, you are kind of on the boundary of like exploring the realms of conscious experience, and it's something that anyone can do, uh, and that's exciting to me. What do you think of the Rouse's technique? We'll talk about that later towards the end, so I don't want to get into specific techniques now. But yeah, in general, you can ask any questions in the chat. I'll try to pause every now and then and look at them. I'm not going to like address every single one the second it comes up, probably because it might derail a little bit the flow of the lesson. But I'll try to be paying attention to them and talk, to any questions y'all have throughout the class. Um, but yeah, so dreams are kind of this frontier, and you are largely like blazing your own trail. So be excited for that and enjoy it. Which brings us to lucid dreams, right? So lucid dreams, I'm sure you all know, are just dreams that you're dreaming in, right? The and I think this is a little bit of a misleading thing because we often talk about dreams, lucid dreams, as a binary category. Like a dream is either a lucid dream or it's not. And I don't think this actually reflects reality as accurately as it could. I think lucidity is more of a spectrum than it is a binary category. Like you can have dreams where you're kind of aware that something isn't right, or you're kind of aware that you're dreaming, or you're aware that you're dreaming, but you're still playing the role in the dream and you're not really in control of yourself. And you can have dreams where you're like hyper aware that you're in a dream and it feels as real as reality. And it can even, some people, it can feel more real than reality. And so there's this spectrum to it. And so to just say that you're having either a lucid dream or you're not is, in my opinion, a little bit misleading. But for simplicity and for the sake of like just being consistent with what you're going to find in online communities and whatnot. Yeah, yeah, a lucid dream is just a dream where you are in some way or another aware that you're dreaming, that you're in a not your waking reality. Yes, these dreams will be, I think, every Saturday. It's not 100%, but I'm thinking probably the same time next week. Yes. Um, so why do it, right? Why lucid dream? There are lots of reasons, and lots of people want to lucid dream for lots of different reasons. But essentially, it's a, a playground to explore anything that you can think of, anything that you can imagine, and some things that I would say you can't imagine actually. So you can have superhuman abilities, right? You can fly around, you can have super strength, you can teleport. You're not constrained by physical reality. You can visit locations that are anywhere on Earth. You can visit locations that are not on this Earth. You can experience reality in a non-human way, right? You can walk around in third person if you want. You can be an animal. You can be an object. You can be a chair. If you can do anything, right? In general, if people ask like, "Can I do X in a dream?" and the answer is almost always like yes. Like if you can formulate it as a question, if you can imagine it, you can do it in a dream if your control is good enough, right? You can act out different fantasy scenarios. Have epic battles, have physically stimulating rendezvous with entities you find physically appealing. That's a popular one. Yeah. You can eat really good food and not have the physical consequences of it. So there's lots of things that you can do. Yeah, chair. It's just a silly example, but people can essentially like exist as objects or whatever. Yeah. How do you improve dream control? That will be the main topic of class 2. So I want to not talk too much about that, but it essentially all comes down to expectation and belief, and anything that you expect or believe, really believe will happen tends to happen. And it's a little bit hard to explain. It's a little bit like riding a bike where you kind of just have to do it to learn it. And like you can study, the mechanics of a bike and oh yeah, this is how I should be riding my bike, but until you do it, it's like you're going to struggle a few times and it just kind of takes experience. If in third person, would it look like you? It might look like the back of your head, but it could look like you. I mean, you could walk around in third person where your body's backwards and you're just looking at your face. Like anything is possible, right? Um, how do you improve dream recall vividity other than dream? We're about to talk about that. Uh, I've had like 30 lucid dreams, but my dream control is kind of whack. Okay, we'll talk about that. Did you ever meet anyone you knew who's not part of your dreams from the real world, or a person you could not control as the rest of the dream? That's an interesting question. I think that I'll talk more about those sorts of things in class 3. We will get into a little bit more fringe topics that are for some people more controversial, and so I don't want to like spend a whole lot of time at the beginning talking about them. Right now I kind of want to stick to basics, but we will talk about that. So yeah, lucid dreaming's awesome, right? Like who wouldn't want to do this? I don't know. I'm not sure why it's not more popular, but I do think it's growing in popularity. And um, yeah, it's cool to see it growing in popularity because I actually tend to think this, Bill Hart, you just asked, including astral projection. Astral projection is a fuzzy term, right? It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But what you're getting at kind of, I think, is like, do I believe that there's uh, deeper states of consciousness that are accessible in through your dreams or through lucid dreams? And I do believe this, and I think that I'll talk a little bit about it in the third class, but these would be the things that I alluded to earlier that you actually can't imagine in your waking reality that are possible in dreams. Um, so how do you do it, right? Um, So I talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but it's important. This is a really important thing to like nail into people, I think, is that there is no one way that is going to work for everyone. And it's largely a process of exploring different methods, exploring different practices, and finding something that will work for you over a long period of time. And so uh, during that process, it can be easy to get discouraged and lose motivation. So, I want to talk a little bit about how you can stay motivated, how you can stay excited, and continue practicing, even if you're not getting results at first, or even if the results are slow coming in, because I think it's really important. So, th- it's going to vary a lot from person to person, and some people pick it up really quick, some people are natural, and some people it takes a really long time, and I don't know where you fall on that spectrum, right? Everyone's different. And uh I'm a little bit conflicted about like saying this, that there's no magic pill, because I think that there can be value in believing that something will work for you, right? The placebo effect, right? We all know what the placebo effect is, right? If you believe something is going to have a certain effect, it has a higher chance of having that effect. And if I tell you like, oh yeah, there's no guarantees of this, whatever, this working or whatever, then it could actually make it less likely to work. So I want you to go into any practice or any method with the belief that it will work and that it can work for you. And even if it doesn't work on one particular night, right? Still continue to believe that it can work and that it will eventually work. And I know that can be hard to do for people because, they're excited and they want to get results. And I think it's a particularly, you know, I think like this is just like speculation, but I think that the way we interact with technology these days just makes us, even more kind of, and this is true for me. I'm not, saying, I'm not trying to like condemn you all, but I think it's true for me too. Like we're just way more like instant gratification focused, and the way that social media and all these different feeds and posts or whatever interact and get us to constantly want that like hit of dopamine or whatever. This can be detrimental to your ability to consistently give attention to lucid dreaming in the long term, or any activity, because if you're not getting like that instant feedback, you can lose motivation and just drop it. And so I'm going to talk about a lot of different things that you can do soon. And it's important to know that you don't have to do all of these things. And in fact, I would say it's better. Someone mentioned this in the Discord, and I completely agree. It's like way better to do do a little bit and continue to do a little bit than it is to try to like implement 100 different like techniques, practices, whatever. Just like overload yourself, get overwhelmed and burnt out, and then quit doing it in a week, right? Like it's way better just to do I don't know, even like take 6 5-minute breaks a day or whatever, just to focus on your awareness and question reality. And then when you go to bed, if you want to do a little practice or something, and then dream journal when you wake up, or even if you just dream journal, right? If you do Like one thing is better than nothing, and consistently doing one thing is better than consistently doing nothing, right? Does meditation help with lucid dreaming? Yes, I think it does, and lots of other people do too, and we will talk about that. So it can take time, and it can take attention. It can take a lot of figuring out what works for you personally, but that's not a problem. Um, and so believe that everything can work, has the potential to work for you, but don't make it a requirement, right? Don't be discouraged if something doesn't work for you, especially like you're going to see, I'm sure, plenty of headlines on whatever social media or YouTube videos. It's like, oh, 100% method, get you your lucid dream tonight. Like, no experience necessary, guaranteed, blah, 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 clickbait, thumbnail, whatever. This is just to get views, right? Like 100% just to get views, and that's fine. I'm not saying those methods are bad, but like there's no 100% guaranteed works for everyone method. It I mean, you know, I if there is, I certainly don't know about it, and I've been kind of paying attention for a while. So I'd hope that if there was something that was so obviously successful, I would have found it by now. Um, yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Give an overview of topics you'll be covering, so I don't ask questions ahead of time. Um, Basically, we're going to talk about. I mean, we're talking about motivation now. I'm going to talk a little bit about sleep. I'm going to talk about dream journaling. I'm going to talk about reality checking, and then different, wake back to bed, all day awareness, meditation, and then common methods: dialed, mild, wild, and some less common methods: S-styled, dream exit induced lucid dream, Rousis. I actually don't know how to pronounce that. I'm just going to say Rousis. I'm going to talk about supplements a little bit too at the end. So that's mostly what's on the agenda for today. So if you have questions, I mean, you can post them and then post them again if I miss them or whatever. It's all good. So, where was I? Yeah. So motivation is important, and one of the things you can do to maintain motivation is not look at each night as either a success or a failure, right? It's not that if you don't have a lucid dream that your night or attempt was a failure. You can instead remember, like we talked about, lucidity, in my opinion, is a spectrum, and so you can think about, like, well, how is my dream recall improving over time? Like, have I gotten better at remembering my dreams? If you have, like, that's great. You're making progress, and you should be excited by that. Am I remembering more details, or is it more vivid? Am I able to pay attention more to my dreams? These are all things that are important and are marks of progress outside of just being lucid or not. And the other thing is just enjoy having regular non-lucid dreams. Like, dreams are fun to experience. And so if you get excited just about going to bed and having adventures at night, like, that's a great way to just stay motivated and stay positive. Like, you don't have to have a lucid dream to have fun in your dreams, right? You can enjoy just the random adventures and write them down, and it's kind of like fun too, because you don't know what's going to happen. Every night's different. It's like a loot box. You don't know what you're going to get. So just look forward to that, um, and have fun. Right. If you're doing stuff and it feels like a chore, you're less likely to keep doing it. So whatever, this goes back to what I was talking about, of like not burning yourself out. But the more you make it feel like a job, the more you make it feel like work, the less likely it is that you're going to continue with that practice. So do it to the extent that you can. Try to keep it fun. Try to be excited about it, and know that it can take time. And for a lot of people, it can take a lot of time to get like consistent. uh, but that you can get there, I believe. Okay. So, what are some of the practices that you can do? Oh, no, no, no. Wait, sorry. Just want to talk about sleep really quick. Um, I'll go pretty briefly over this, but basically, like, yeah, if you want to have lucid dreams, you need to be sleeping a lot, or like 8 hours is great. The reason you need to be sleeping longer, like if you're only sleeping, let's say 6 hours a night, that's not great because your REM cycles get longer as your sleep progresses. So at the beginning of sleep, you're mostly in non-REM sleep, and you transition into deeper states of non-REM sleep, and then you come out of that, and then you enter into a period of REM sleep. But your initial REM cycles are shorter, so your dreams are shorter at the beginning of your sleep. And towards the end of your sleep is when you start to have these longer REM cycles, and where you're out of your deep non-REM sleep. So it's important to be getting enough sleep to really, have the opportunity to practice, because you're dreaming more, right? And if you're sleeping at inconsistent times, if you're sleeping inconsistent lengths, this makes all of this harder. So try to get consistent sleep, try to get enough sleep. And if you have trouble, falling asleep, there's lots of things that you can do. You can do different breathing exercises. You can, it's always good to avoid blue light before bed. 30 minutes or an hour before bed. Blue light stops your brain from producing melatonin, which is a hormone that helps you fall asleep. Lowering your body temperature helps you sleep. So if you take a hot shower before bed, your body temperature drops after taking a hot shower, or keeping your room colder can help. So all these things are great if are having noises or whatever. Earplugs, eye masks, these are all great to use. I use earplugs like every night, because I sleep with I sleep with someone, so I have to use earplugs to not be distracted. Um, all these things are important, right? So that's number one. Like if you're not having lucid dreams, but you're sleeping like 4 hours a night, like, well, there you go. It kind of has to be. You have to kind of make sleep a priority, and that's it's. I'm not going to say it's impossible to do if you're not doing that, but it's going to make it a lot harder. Uh, okay. Wow. I think I need to speed up a little bit, or else we're probably going to go over time. So, the number one practice that is recommended, and I would agree with, like the number one thing that everyone is going to say, is dream journaling, right? This is like, if you're not having lucid dreams and you're not dream journaling, like this is where you start for sure. Um, Dream journaling is really important because it trains your brain to pay attention to dreams. Because usually, like if someone, you guys are going to be different because you're interested in dreams, but a lot of people in the general population might not even think that they dream. Right? They do. Everyone dreams, but a lot of people say like, "Oh yeah, I don't have dreams or whatever." That's not true. They just don't remember them. Right? Everyone dreams. A lot of people just forget them almost instantly upon waking. And so the biggest thing you can do to train yourself to remember and to be aware of your dreams is to dream journal, and dream journal as consistently as possible. And I know that it can feel like a chore, right? It's not always the thing you want to do the second you wake up. And it's easy to rationalize, like, oh, yeah, I'll definitely remember this dream. Like, I just woke up, I have it in my mind here. I'll just write it down in like a few minutes. Just let me like lie here for a bit. Like, no, write it down right then. And it doesn't have to be writing, right? Like dream journaling can be pen and paper. Some people actually think that's like more effective. I don't I don't know. I think it's better to just do something that you will actually do. Like if you won't write things down, use your phone, use an audio transcriber, right? That's what I do. I have my phone within reach, And as soon as I wake up, I can grab it and just talk my dreams into a note app, and it just writes it down for me. And it makes it really easy. And I will actually do it. And so that's what I do. And it works. It works well enough. And so you want to be writing them down as soon as you wake up, because that's when you remember the most detail about your dreams. And it's also when you uh, well, so like if you it's very easy to forget things as soon as you start moving. So, yeah, keywords and leave the rest for later. Yeah, sure. That's better than nothing. And that's the other point is like anything is better than nothing, right? Like if you want to write keywords, right? If you want to just like even if you don't remember anything, if you can recall the emotion that you feel or a setting or a person, like any little bit of information that you can remember is better than writing nothing, or even writing down like I didn't remember my dreams, or yeah, like even writing that down is like good because I don't do audio. Oh, I do audio, but I don't want to wake my BF. Haha. Yeah, I sometimes will like type it out on my phone because yeah, I also sometimes don't want to wake up my girlfriend. So um, I understand that. But it is important to try to get something down as quickly as possible because even just like moving your body, like often people will say to not to try not to move your body like when you wake up, and to keep yourself as still as possible for the duration that you're recording your dreams. And if you start moving and you can't really remember stuff, try to go back into the position that you were in when you woke up if you remember it, and try to just sit there and think like, well, what was I feeling, what was the setting, and just give it a little bit of time, because often dreams can come back if we don't immediately get distracted by other stuff, right? If we just like sit there and allow some space for memories to come back, often we will get something, back, and then you can write that down. um, but it's really important, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you'll notice that the more you do it, the more you start to remember your dreams, the more details you remember, the and then you'll start to identify patterns too. And so dream journaling is really useful for identifying patterns in dreams, dream signs, right, that you can later use to trigger lucidity through various, practices. And if you're super motivated, definitely don't have to do this, but you can write down like all kinds of auxiliary information. You can like write down how long you slept, like what kinds of methods you used, and you can like rate your vividness, or give yourself like yeah different like metadata that you can then use later on to like try to gain more insights. But you know whatever, most people aren't going to do that, and I don't really do it either because like it's kind of a lot. But anything is better than nothing, right? And if you're not having lucid dreams and you're not dream journaling, like just start there. Like don't expect anything to work if you're not dream journaling. It could, and I hope it does, but don't expect it. Don't be surprised if you have trouble lucid dreaming if you're not dream journaling consistently. So that's number one. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like eventually it kind of just becomes a habit. And that's ultimately the goal of all these things, is to like at first they can feel like work, but like anything, if you just do it enough, if you make it a part of your routine, eventually like it is part of your routine, and it doesn't feel like a chore. It just feels like what you do. It feels like you're getting up and making your cup of coffee because that's what you do. Or it's just you wake up, you record your dreams, think about them, and then you go about your day. So it does get easier, right? um, the next thing that is often talked about, oh wait, okay, Awoken. Nice. There's a lucid dreaming app called Awoken. Yeah, there's a lot of apps that are basically like dream journal apps that can help. Um, Yeah, and if you remember them later in the day, write them down, definitely. Um, and then review sorry, the last thing is, like, review your dream journal during the day. Like, this really helps, particularly before you go to bed. Like, it's really good to read your prior night's dreams or even dreams before that, but definitely review your dreams during the day, and that'll start to train your brain, like, this is important to me. I want to be paying attention to this. I wanna remember this. And, yeah. By the way, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I have, like, notes for all this stuff that I will post later, so I don't know if anyone's, like, trying to take notes, but there's no need for that, and you can also watch it later. Um, so the next practice that is, like, very common, that's commonly, advised is reality checking, right? I'm sure you all have heard of this. This is just a practice of questioning throughout the day whether or not you're dreaming, and there are many ways to do this, right? Common ones. So a lot of people will, have these ideas that certain things happen in dreams that are different for reality. So a lot of people think that, like, in dreams it's common for your hands for some reason to look different. Like, some people will have extra fingers, and so a common reality check to see if you're dreaming is to look at your hands and examine them and see, do they look normal? Or even yourself, you can look into a mirror and look at yourself and see, like, well, do I look like how I think I should look? um, some people will jump in their dreams and try to, or jump in reality and see, like, does gravity feel normal? Because sometimes the physical parameters in our dreams are a little bit different, and we might not fall the same way that we do in reality. Another common one is holding your nose and trying to breathe. Often in dreams, like, you're able to do that. So if you do it in real life and you suddenly realize that you can breathe through your nose even though you're holding it, you're in a dream. Um, like, pushing your finger through your hand is another common one. For some reason, in dreams, people seem to be able to do that. But what I want to, like, emphasize about reality checking is that it's important to not just, like, go through the motion. It's important to not just, like, have a checklist that you're, like, checking off, like, oh, okay, oh, can I breathe? No. Can I, my fingers, oh yeah, 1 2 3 4 5, like, not in a dream, and not think about it. It's important to, I'm actually gonna move, I think, so the lighting is a little bit better. Sorry. It's important to actually, uh, genuinely question your reality. I don't know if actually that's better. So, actually, that's not better. Okay, never mind. It's important to, like, genuinely question your reality when you do a reality check. So it's not just a matter of, like, going down a checklist. It's you want to really, like, pay attention to your environment around you. And for me, like, I don't really even do any, like, concrete reality check anymore. I just pay attention to the environment and think about, the sequence of events that led me up to this point. Like, does it make sense? So, like, I'll play back my day and think about what I did that day and how I got to where I am now, and just be like, does this make sense to me? Okay, I woke up, I went to whatever, I ran some errands, I did some work, I came back, I had lunch, I ate this, I'm at my home. Like, okay, yeah, that all checks out. Like, that seems normal. I don't think I'm in a dream. Versus if you're in a dream, it can be like, oh yeah, I was at home and then I was with, this person, but then suddenly I was at this other place and now that person was this person. And wait a minute, like, I shouldn't be at this place. Like, wait, I'm at elementary school. I'm not in elementary school. Like, why is this happen? And it just won't make sense. And so that is, for me, a better way of doing reality checks than just, like, okay, does the finger go through the hand? Because, like I said, dream control is often about expectation. And so the problem with, like, reality checks that are, like, checking to see if something works the same way as reality from a physical standpoint is that often they fail. because you can expect something to happen and it will happen. Like if you are expecting to not be able to breathe through your nose and not like open to the possibility that you can breathe through your nose, even if you're in a dream, you might not be able to breathe through your nose. Or if you're, convinced that you're not in a dream already and you're trying to put your finger through your hand, it's possible that the expectation that you can't put your finger through your hand will prevent you from doing it, even in a dream. I really convinced my dream self that I'm in fact dreaming. Yeah, and so yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm talking about, and it really is like more just like something that you want to. A good example, since your dream nose isn't your real nose, and that's why it works. Yeah, I mean, it can, but it can still fail. Like in your dream, like anything can happen, right? So like even if it's not your real nose, yeah, like your body will still be breathing, but in your dream you might have the sensation or something of like not being able to breathe if that's your expectation. They're pretty good though. Like I mean, generally these things are recommended for a reason, and I'm not really sure of the science behind it, but but the main point is like you don't want to go into the reality check with the expectation that it will fail, right? You want to go into the reality check, even if you're like, sure that you're in not in a dream, you want to go into the reality check open to the idea that you could be in a dream, right? That's what's important, that you're like genuinely questioning reality, even if you're sure, I'm in reality. And so you want to do this throughout the day, and you want to do this, um, you can you can set an alarm on your phone to like do it every whatever, like every couple hours. But you can also, like, if you have been doing your dream journal, you can start to notice themes, your dream signs, and then try to convince yourself to do a reality check every time you encounter those dream signs. Yeah, Lucia. Yes, the nose one failed in my dream, so it doesn't work for everybody. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not always the case that every time you do a reality check in a dream that it's gonna work. It's gonna fail, and um, you know you're gonna realize you're dreaming. You have to really be open, and that's why I think like this is my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, I think like really the best reality check, and what I do in my own practice is like try to just be aware of the surroundings, aware of the events that have led me up to somewhere, and then work through them and really like question like does this make sense? Is this like consistent with who I am and my situation and what's been going on? Like and often often if you start to think that in a dream, like it actually becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that you're dreaming. Like, even if you just start to, like, genuinely question, like, "Is this a dream? Like, was I awake? Am I awake? Like, what?" And then, like, even without working through things, if you start to get good at it, if your, dream awareness builds, you'll very quickly realize, "Oh, no, yeah, that's right. I went to bed. I'm dreaming." Um, and so you can do this throughout the day, and the idea is that if you do it enough or when you encounter dream signs, eventually you'll start doing it in your dreams. The thing about this is that, like, this is good, but it can take a long time for the habit to be, transferred into your dream. So, like, if you want to build habits in your waking life that transfer into your dream, it can take time and you have to do them a lot. One thing that, like, I've been doing is, like, this just works for me. This is, like, lots of things work for lots of people, but I wear just a little, like, messy piece of cloth around my wrist, and it's like it's not convenient. I have to wrap it up or whatever, and it comes undone during the day, and it sticks out or whatever. And every time I notice it, it's a reminder to question my reality. And it's not it's not like you don't have to do it, but it's just something that helps me, that I if you're having trouble like sticking to a consistent schedule or whatever, it's just something you can try. Um, and so when I notice that it's like off, or I just like notice it, or it's uncomfortable or whatever, then I'll be reminded to do a reality check, and I'll go through and I don't do the finger through hand or look at my hands. I just think about my day, and I just think like, does this make sense? Does everything that's happening around me make sense? Am I in a dream? So that's reality checking. Oh yeah, and last thing about reality checking is it's always good to do reality checking when you wake up. Um, Always, like, if you can build that habit, that's really good, because often you will have false awakenings, right? Where if you're in a lucid dream, like a lot of you people that are saying, I have lucid dreams and I can't maintain them. It's very possible that a lot of those dreams are actually like false awakenings, where you think you wake up, but you're still dreaming, and the dream has just transitioned into another dream. And this is very common. And so the way you catch those is by getting in the habit of doing reality checks as soon as you wake up. Uh, what method for beginners do you recommend? Uh, It's up to you, like, I mean, the like standard ones, I would say, like, starting with dream journaling and reality checking is great. I'm gonna talk about going into now, like, more specific methods, and I think, like, beginners can do any of them. Like, just there's no method that I would say that you shouldn't try because you're a beginner, and different people are gonna have different preferences and find that different things work better for them. So just try everything and give everything some time. Like, if you're trying to evaluate the effectiveness of something, you can't just do it once, or even do it like, a few times. You really have to give it a chance. And I would like, this might sound like a long time, but like, even like doing it for a month, like I would try to stick to doing something for, yeah, maybe a month or something before you completely say that this isn't for you. But that's up to you, and that's going to be something that you decide for yourself. So, um, other things you can do, wake back to bed is a very common um, lucidity, method or aid, or often you like combine it with other methods. And this is like a really big one. So yeah, actually, I think this is like one of the best ones I would recommend for, to try first if you haven't tried it. um, Most of my lucid dreams now, I've kind of gotten into the habit of like waking up almost like automatically, like after 5.5 to 6 hours, going to the bathroom, and then kind of doing a wake back to bed. And most of my lucid dreams happen in the subsequent, couple hours of sleep. So wake back to bed is just going to bed, waking up 4 to 6 hours after you go to sleep. This varies from person to person, and you're going to have to experiment to find what time works for you. But basically, like going to bed and then waking up and then staying up for, again, a varying length of time that you're going to have to figure out for yourself, and then going back to sleep. And often, certain methods will say like, okay, while you're awake, you can do these certain things, or as you're going back to sleep, you can do these certain things that'll help you achieve lucidity, and you can try that. But um, in general, it's like it's just about jogging your awareness, kind of waking yourself up to be aware, and then focused on your intention to have a lucid dream, and then going back to sleep. And it's common that, like, your goal is to kind of wake yourself up right before you're going into a REM cycle anyway, so that when you go back to sleep, you're going almost straight into a REM cycle. And so that you have your awareness like triggered, and your awareness is close to a waking state, and then you immediately go into a dream. It's a lot easier to be more aware of that dream and to realize that you're dreaming. And there is some experimentation required. And if in general, if you're finding that, like, if you wake up and you stay up for a certain amount of time, maybe you try, let's say you try 30, 35 minutes, whatever, and you have a hard time falling back to sleep, right? Make it shorter. If you stay up for 5 minutes and you just fall right back to sleep, and it's you don't really find it helpful, try staying up a little bit longer. So experiment with the time and see what works for you. Um, you can also set you can also do multiple attempts at wake back to bed. So in in general, people have like roughly, I think, 90-minute sleep cycles. So you can set an alarm, to wake up 5 hours after you go to bed, and then set subsequent alarms for, let's say, like if you're going to stay up for 15 minutes, you can set alarms for 15 minutes plus like 90-minute intervals or whatever, right? 105-minute intervals after that a few times so that you can wake up, try your wake back to bed. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't work, you'll be woken up again, and then do another attempt that same night. Have you ever tried binaural beats? I have. I'm actually kind of a fan of binaural beats for meditation. I don't think that I, I think the scientific evidence behind them is lacking. Like I don't think there's actually a lot of empirical evidence that like suggests that they actually do anything. But I just enjoy listening to them, and I like find them nice. Like I like a pure just a pure tone. Sometimes you see binaural beats, by the way, are just audio things you can listen to where you have a frequency in one ear and then a frequency in the other ear that is off by a few hertz. And so like the difference in frequencies was theorized to help bring your brain into that like frequency, because you can like measure the frequencies that are going through your brain during different sleep stages and dream stages and whatnot. And so um, people had ideas about that, and I don't know that like it's super scientifically supported, but lots of people like it, and I like it. So try it, and if it works for you, that's great. I like using it for meditation, and yeah, you can check them out. There's lots and lots and lots of binaural beats on YouTube, and yeah, a lot of people like them. So wake back to bed is really effective. I would definitely try that. The other thing that I personally really like is a practice called like all day awareness, which is basically just mindfulness, right? Or like a kind of meditation. Like I'll lump in meditation into this. Like so, I'll talk about meditation and all day awareness. That's all day awareness is the term in the lucid dreaming community that a lot of people use for this, but I kind of see it as basically a type of meditation. And so I'll talk about both briefly. I think they're really useful for increasing the chance that you become lucid, because in general, the thing that you're looking for is like what they do is they help uh, get you focused on awareness itself, and more aware of things that you're not normally aware of in the environment around you and your own conscious processes and your own mind. And this again, like this habit eventually transfers into your dreams. And so the more aware you are in your waking life, the more aware you tend to be in your dreams, and the more attuned to like subtle details that might tell you, or not so subtle details that might tell you that you're dreaming. So um, the standard advice about like what all day awareness really is just like taking some time throughout the day. And it says all day, but it doesn't have, you don't have to do it all day. Like you can do it for 5 minutes a few times a day, 10 minutes a few times a day, as much as you can, that to where it doesn't tire yourself out. But essentially just take some time throughout the day and notice things that you wouldn't normally notice. Try to be aware of all the unconscious things that you're normally not aware of. So if you're walking around, notice the feeling of your feet on the ground, or the sound of your footsteps, or the feeling of your fingers typing on the computer as you're typing, or as you're breathing, the feeling of your chest expanding, or the feeling of air going through your windpipe and mouth as you breathe. And so all these like subtle sensations that you normally just completely filter out, right? Take some time to actually become aware of them and just notice them. And you don't need to like obsess over them. It's just like sitting and noticing what's going on without getting involved too much in it. I mean, this is kind of like the core idea of a lot of meditation practices, is that you're just trying to be aware of uh, awareness, essentially. And this is like kind of a hard thing to talk about because it's something that is subjective and is kind of you can experience it and you can kind of notice what I'm talking about when you experience it, but it can be hard to describe, like awareness of awareness. Like, well, what do I mean by that? Well, like think about this is like if you're, and there's, by the way, like there's also guided meditation that you can do, and there's just like, you know, some ones that I've enjoyed, like there's different, like yoga nidra is a kind of meditation that is a subset of some like Hindu tradition that is focused on like sleep and the state kind of in between sleep and awake. So that can, you can look up like yoga nidra meditations on YouTube that I like. You can look up different mantra based meditations. You can sit zazen, you can focus on your breath, you can count, whatever. It doesn't really matter, right? Lots of different ways to meditate. And again, it's like whatever works for you is great, and whatever works for you is what works for you. But in general, like the core, I think, idea behind meditation is this like awareness of awareness idea. And what I mean by that is like, if I tell you to think of your hand or be aware of your hand, like let's say you're laying down and I say, and well, let's try this like right now. Like let's try this. If you want to close your eyes and think about, become aware of your right hand and think about, feel the sensations that your right hand's feeling, feel the sensations of your thumb, bring your awareness to your thumb, bring your awareness to your index finger, to your middle finger. Okay, now bring your awareness to your elbow, right? Do you feel that there's like something, there's a shift, like something moves when you're focusing on your hand, your awareness is on your hand, and then when you focus on your elbow, there's like this shift, and something is, it's like a light, it's like a spotlight is moving from your hand to your elbow, and you can shift that spotlight. Now think of something else, and like there's this spotlight that seems to move around and bring things into your conscious awareness. And so instead of like focusing on the thing that the spotlight is shining on, try to try to like feel what that spotlight is, if that makes sense. Like try to um, just be aware of the spotlight. Okay, I know this is like, this is kind of weird, and it seems like not connected to lucid dreaming, but I actually really think that this is one of the things that can help if you can get into the habit of doing this. Can help the most in terms of increasing the chances of having lucid dreams. Is that if you can get in the habit of like practicing kind of being aware of the awareness that you possess, right? What happens is that like heightened awareness transfers into your dreams, and you're much more easily able to recognize that you're dreaming, essentially, because you're just more aware in general of the dream, and of everything around you, and of all the things that you wouldn't normally be aware of. So meditation, I think, is really good. And even if you don't like want to, like do a kind of concrete practice, like even just finding some time to be alone during the day can be nice, and just, take a walk and not be stimulated by like something, take a walk, just sit on a park bench or sit outside or in your room or whatever, where you're not having your attention being dictated by all these like external things. Because what happens in waking life, and I think this is a lot of this kind of like transfers into our dreams, is like our attention is constantly being pulled in all these different directions, right? You're either on your computer, and on your computer or screen there's just so much stuff that's like, look here, give your attention to this, give your attention to this, and it's really easy to essentially slip into this unconscious like, oh yeah, I'm just like going to go wherever my attention gets pulled. Or if you're at school and people are talking, everything's competing for your attention. And if you're not aware of where you're giving your attention and what you're giving your attention to, or even what your attention is, then you're kind of just like like a little stick getting tossed around in waves, and like you're not really controlling anything. And that is what happens in our dreams, is that like we just get sucked into the reality of the dream, and we're not aware of all the strangeness around us even though it's like it's almost like so obvious sometimes, like this impossible scenario, how could we not realize that it's a dream? Well, it's because our awareness is just sucked like right into, look at this, okay, yeah, I'm looking at that, look at this, oh yep, this is, and we have no, it's the same like unconscious behavior that we often stay in our waking life that is exhibited in our dreams. So that's why I think meditation really helps, and particularly if you do it before bed, even like 20 minutes before bed can be really helpful. But you know try it and see if it works for you. um so now we're like already over time, so I might I don't know. I might actually push a few of the like different topics into next week. So I'll talk about uh, dialeds and wilds, and then next week maybe I'll get into some of the more like niche techniques, in addition to talking about dream control and all that. Just because we're running a little bit short on time. So dialed, right? If I think most of you are familiar, although in the survey it seems like not everyone is. So I'll briefly like just go over what they are. The common two classifications of lucid dreams, right, are dialed and wild. That stands for dream-induced lucid dream and wake-induced lucid dream. And basically, a dialed is just any dream that starts out as a normal dream that eventually, during which you become aware that it's a dream and eventually becomes a lucid dream. Whereas a wake-induced lucid dream is a lucid dream that is entered directly from your waking state without ever losing consciousness, without ever becoming unconscious that you're in a dream. So a lot of people like call these techniques, but I mean, like really they're just like classifications. And so a lot of techniques, fall under these two classifications, but they're kind of used interchangeably online sometimes with techniques. And like a lot of people just think of dials as like, doing reality checks and having, doing your dream journal, doing reality checks, and then just having spontaneous lucid dreams throughout the night. And the practices that I've, just talked about, dream journaling, reality checking, all day awareness, meditation, these sorts of things are all going to increase the chance of having dream-induced lucid dreams, like spontaneous lucid dreams. Actually, I think meditation is really helpful for doing wake-induced lucid dreams, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. So a really common method that is often like one of the first people learn about is a technique that was developed by a guy who pioneered a lot of the lucid dreaming research in the West, Stephen LaBerge, and his technique was called mild. or mnemonic induced or mnemonic initiated lucid dream. Um, and it's a subcategory. It's a dream induced lucid dream. So it's basically a technique where you're going to realize that you're dreaming in a dream. And he developed it while he was researching lucid dreams at Stanford, and he needed a way to become lucid himself consistently. And so this is his technique that he used to do that, and it works for a lot of people. And so I'll go over it right now. The idea behind mild is that you're using your something called your like prospective memory, which is your ability to remember something in the future to induce a lucid dream. So you're basically trying to tell yourself to remember to have a lucid dream in the future, and then in the future in your dream to remember that you were supposed to do this, and that brings you to be lucid. So the way that you can do this, that Stephen LaBerge used, was to use this mantra as you're going to bed or before bed, and to do it with intention, and to repeat it with intention. And so it doesn't really matter like what the mantra is or what you say. Like I think the common one that he would say is like, the next time I'm dreaming, I will remember to recognize that I'm dreaming, or I'll remember that I'm dreaming. And he would repeat that before bed, right? So as you're falling asleep, you think about, the next time I'm dreaming, I'm going to remember that I'm dreaming, or I need to remember to recognize that I'm dreaming, or just I will remember that I'm dreaming, right? Whatever the mantra is, the trick behind it is not just saying it, but feeling the intent to remember something. And the way I can illustrate this is like, think about if you're going to bed and you're needing to remember to do something the next day, right? Like you need to remember to take your car to the car wash, or you need to remember to respond to someone. You might think to yourself like, okay, tomorrow, I need to remember to text this guy back. And when you're doing that, you're actually like you're doing something in your brain that is like setting that intention to remember something, that's engaging your prospective memory. And so you want to be saying this mantra with that same feeling of like, yes, this is something I need to remember to do in the future. So it can be a little weird to, understand what I'm talking about. So like something that I used to do is like, I would literally do my mantra, and then I would think about something that I actually needed to do the next day. And then I would like alternate between like saying that and my mantra, and try to say them and feel the same way about each one. Right. So I would literally be like, okay, the next time I'm dreaming, I need to remember my dreams. Tomorrow I need to, text Greg back, whatever. Okay. And the next time I'm dreaming, I need to remember my dreams. And tomorrow, I need to remember to text Greg back. And I would like alternate between them, trying to feel the same thing with each. And there are some things you can like, you've been trying to do his exercises, and I'm the worst. I can't remember. So some exercises you can do, I think that I don't know if these are the same ones, but like some exercises you can do to make your perspective memory better are like giving yourself like practice kind of things to look for during the day that then you can trigger like reality checks with. So you can be like, during the day, like you can pick whatever 3 things that you might commonly encounter, like say, a jogger, if you see a jogger, or every time you drink water or whatever. And at the beginning of the day, you can set this intention, like, okay, when I see a jogger, I will remember to do a reality check. And then during the day, you can try and do that. And if you notice the jogger and you're able to do the reality check, that's great. And if you don't notice that, well, you try again the next day. And that can help you develop and strengthen this like perspective memory. And the other thing is like when you're going Yeah. When you're going to go to bed, you can think about your dream signs and think about like not just okay, next time I'm dreaming, I'll remember I'm dreaming, but like, yeah, the next time I see the next time I'm at school, maybe if all your dreams happen at school and you're no longer in school, the next time at school, I'll remember to realize I'm dreaming or something like that. And you can also visualize yourself in those situations in the past and think about um, basically becoming lucid in those moments. So if you had a dream at school the night before that wasn't lucid, you can think about that dream and think about yourself in that same situation, but then change the dream so that you realize that you were lucid and visualize yourself becoming lucid and visualize, try to remember how you felt and how that feels and so on. You should do the same memory triggers every day. You can, it doesn't really matter, honestly. You can do the same ones. Like I would maybe if you weren't successful, like if you were like, okay, I want to see a jogger, and when I see a jogger, I'll do a reality check. If you did that one day and you completely forgot about it, maybe keep it for the next day. But as you get better to strengthen your memory, you can change them from day to day, and you can pick different things and see if you can, adapt to that. Because yeah, but honestly, just you know, again, it's just whatever works for you. And if it is annoying to keep changing things each day, then don't do it. Um, so that's the mild technique, mnemonic initiated lucid dream. And if you do this, consistently for a lot of people, it can help. But the like principle behind it, which is honestly with all these techniques that I'm talking about, there's usually like a principle behind the technique that is the reason that it works, and it's not about like necessarily the specific steps of the method, but it's about like the steps kind of just happen to tap into the principle of the technique. And often the principle behind the technique is something that's kind of core to like lucid dreaming in general. And um, with this one, it's kind of all about that remembering to do something in the future, right? So that's mild. Um, The next one I'm going to talk about is wild, right? Wake initiated lucid dreams. And since this class is like going over, this might be the last one I talk about right now. And then some of the others I'll do next class. I think this will actually like maybe be okay because I was thinking I wouldn't have maybe enough material for the third class anyway. So, um, anyway, wake induced lucid dreams are for me, one of the most interesting, you know, I find them to be super interesting. And I think that like the first time you have one, like for me, it was kind of this like mind blowing moment of like, I didn't even realize, I never thought this could be possible. And now like it's happening right in front of me. So I would encourage everyone to like at least give these a shot, because also once you get consistent at them, once you get good at them, they can be one of the more consistent methods of having lucid dreams. And so, just as a reminder for people, if you don't know, awake initiated lucid dream or wild is a lucid dream where you go from laying in bed, awake, conscious, directly into a dream without ever, having your mind fall asleep, without ever losing consciousness, which is what, happens normally, right? And so these are almost impossible to do if you don't combine them with wake back to bed. So if you're trying to do, I don't want to say like for sure impossible, because I'm sure there's some people that can do it, but I definitely can't do these like right the first time, when I'm going to bed throughout the night. I have to be doing wake back to bed, and almost everyone, has to be doing wake back to bed for these to work. You can maybe do them. Some people do them like in afternoon naps, but um, that's, you have to be kind of tired and sleepy and maybe a little sleep deprived, but you can still try it. But basically you're going to go to bed, wake up for, it varies, but 4.5 to 5.5 hours, somewhere in there. Stay up for a certain amount of time, and then you're going to go back to sleep. But you're going to go back to sleep and try to not lose consciousness, and you're going to try to maintain your awareness ever so slightly throughout the transition into the dream. And so the way you do that is essentially meditate. Okay, this is why I think meditation is also really helpful, is because wilding is essentially just meditation. It's just meditating as you go back to bed, and in a certain way to keep a thread of awareness alive. And so, um, like a common there's different ways to do it. Like a common one is to use a mantra. So as you're lying down to go to sleep, you want to lie down, get comfortable, wake up, stay up for a length of time. And you don't want to stay up too long with wild, because you want to be able to fall asleep relatively easily, or at least you want your body to fall asleep relatively easily. So if you find yourself attempting wild, and you're not able to like fall asleep, and you're just lying there for an hour, like you probably stayed up too long. So shorten the amount of time that you're awake for. And consequently, if you're immediately falling asleep, and if you're losing consciousness immediately, then try staying up a little bit longer, right? So you're going to lay down, and some people say that you should lay down in a position that's different from the one that you normally sleep in. I don't think this matters as much. You can try, like, I normally sleep on my side slash stomach. So some people might say you should sleep on your back, but I've done it like both ways. It doesn't really matter to me. I think sometimes if you are falling asleep too quickly, it can be helpful to sleep in a different position where you're just slightly like not as comfortable as you usually were, and that can help you stay aware. Finding the REM period is a pain. Yeah, yeah, it can be, but um, in my opinion, it's worth trying to find. But yeah, it can be a little annoying. Um, as you're falling asleep, you want to be still. You want to not move your body. This is, if you're moving your body, you're going to basically be telling your body that you're awake, and it won't go through the physical changes that transition you into the sleep state, into your REM sleep. So you need to be still, right? And it's helpful at the beginning to do some like relaxation exercises, and you can do some breathing exercises, or just, try to release tension in your body, try to relax, breathe through different parts of your body and relax, cycle your awareness through different muscle groups. And as you exhale, relax them, and do that for a minute. And then when you're ready, just lay down, close your eyes, and you can start a mantra if you want. That's typically what people do. Like the one I've used before is very simple. It really doesn't matter. You can just say like, I'm dreaming, I'm dreaming. You can say one, I'm dreaming, two, I'm dreaming, three, I'm dreaming, four, I'm dreaming, whatever. Any kind of mantra, or use like an anchor. There's a technique called filed finger induced lucid dream. It's basically just like, it's just wild, but you're kind of concentrating on your fingers. So you're concentrating on a body part, and you're doing some movement in your finger where you like have something to like anchor your attention to, so that you don't go unconscious. And so it's all about trying to find this balance between. It's tricky because it's like, some people say it's not a very beginner friendly method, but I don't. Honestly, I don't know. I don't think that you should uh, be scared of it, or be apprehensive about trying it just because you're a beginner. But it can be tricky. Like, I think it can be tricky for anyone, even if you've been lucid dreaming for a while, because and even if you've done it successfully, it can be hard to do again, because it's like, it's very, you're trying to find this middle path of being aware enough that you don't fall asleep, but not aware enough that you are, constantly um, thinking about your body or physical sensations, or there's too much like mental activity, like you're kind of just wanting to stay in this like half awake trance where you let your body go to sleep, but there's something going on that you're clinging to, that your awareness is clinging to, that keeps you conscious and allows you to remain aware as a dream forms around you. And this can be a really strange sensation. And this is also a technique where some people can experience sleep paralysis, right? So when you go to bed, when you dream, your body is paralyzed. Your body is in sleep paralysis. And a lot of people are really scared of sleep paralysis. And a lot of people are like worried that of like experiencing it. And wild is one of those techniques where I think the chance of experiencing sleep paralysis can be higher. But but like what I would say is like, you know, there's really not anything to be scared of. That I mean, that's not super helpful because some people are like get really freaked out, especially if you wake up. Sometimes that you experience sleep paralysis when you wake up from a dream abruptly and your body's not awake yet. So like I have experienced sleep paralysis, yeah, and it can be surprising too because like you wake up and you try to move and then suddenly like you can't and you're frozen and you're panicking because your mind is awake, right, but your body is asleep. And this is like the whole thing about wild is you're trying to keep your mind awake while allowing your body to go to sleep. And so sometimes you can go through a stage of sleep paralysis. Sometimes you're conscious of it, sometimes you're not. And often you can feel like strange physical sensations as you're going through this transition. Sometimes you feel like vibrations, sometimes really intense vibrations, actually. Sometimes you notice like strange imagery, like hypnagogic imagery. And for the most part, you want to just kind of ignore these things and let them happen and don't get super involved with them. And it can be hard, especially at the beginning, if you're trying to go to sleep and all of a sudden your body's like you feel this like vibration. Yeah, like it's natural for that to kind of like surprise you and jolt you. But if you experience it multiple times and you get used to it, eventually you'll kind of be more able to just allow it to happen without getting super entwined in it and super involved in it. And if you can just stay in like your aware state, eventually these sensations will subside and shift to a dream. And so a dream can kind of form. You can just kind of find yourself in one, or you might notice the imagery actually like forming around you, and you might notice the dream like kind of completely like dissolve around you and then suddenly find yourself in it. You might find yourself like in bed. You might kind of just get out of bed and realize that you're in a dream, right? Like often wild, your dreams and wild will start from your bedroom because that's where your awareness is. And you haven't lost that awareness, right? Can you get You can get a lucid dream from sleep paralysis, right? You can use, yeah. So, like, I mean, sleep paralysis is essentially like something that your body does right before you dream. So, if you can stay aware during that process, yeah, you can like transition sleep paralysis. You can stay with it, keep your awareness there, and allow yourself to just continue into a dream. When the dream faded and it didn't really feel like I was already awake. Um, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. When the dream faded and I did dream exit induced lucid dream, it didn't really feel like I was already awake. You mean like it didn't feel like you were like it felt like you were unconscious before then? It was just black and I couldn't feel my body. Yeah. Well, this is like one of these in between states. Is like you go through this shift and you'll notice this, or it's definitely possible to notice this. Yeah, where you're essentially, yeah, kind of feel like you're in this void or this empty space, right? Where you're not seeing the visual, signals that are the light that is coming into your physical eyes. You've let go of all physical sensation and now are existing in this like conscious mental space that is something else. It's like a dream, yeah, like an empty dream. Yeah, you can definitely experience that. Um, and so, uh, yeah, the biggest like blockers sometimes people have to doing wild is like being able to, one, like getting scared from these physical sensations or getting surprised by them. Finding the right timing, that's a really hard thing. And then it can also be like just like not being able to lie still and being too distracted by like, oh yeah, I need to like swallow, or I have an itch or something. And for the most part, for those things, if it's at the beginning of your attempt, just go ahead and scratch, just like swallow if you need to, and then just try to relax back down and go back into your attempt. If it's later on, if you've been attempting for a while, if you already kind of feel a little numb, try to resist that urge, because sometimes your body can, it's almost like a test to see if you're awake. Um, but it's not the end of the world if you move, but like, it's definitely, you don't want to be moving too much. One thing I would do, like I had problems swallowing like with saliva and stuff with wild attempts. So I would sleep on my side and kind of angle my head down so that my saliva would just drool out of my mouth, and I'd open my mouth and I'd put a towel on my pillow. So I just didn't have to worry about it, right? And my saliva would just get all over a towel, and then I just wasn't distracted and worried about it. Being comfortable is really, yeah, like the balance is, it depends on the person, right? Like if you are having trouble falling asleep with wild, if it's taking too long, then you probably need to be more comfortable. um and yeah, you do want to be comfortable. Like you don't want to be, like, basically you're trying to stop thinking about your physical body, stop attending to the physical sensations that your body is experiencing, and you want to be trying to move into this just space of conscious awareness. So yeah, you want to be comfortable, you don't want to be physically uncomfortable, because then you're going to keep thinking about that physical uncomfort, right? So that's wild. Let me see if I forgot anything. Yeah, I think maybe we will cut it here and move over to Discord if people want to. The For this week, let's just say, like, if you're looking to like practice, or or do something this week, like I'd say to start out, like dream journaling, paying attention to dream. Did you ever succeed with the Rouse's method? I'll talk about that in the next class, but briefly, like, yeah, I think I haven't used exactly Rouse's, but I've done something very similar where I used a vibration. I mean, essentially, I've used like a vibration alarm that has like gone off periodically while I've been asleep, and that can help. Um, the Rouse's method, just briefly, yeah, is just setting an alarm and then kind of setting progressive alarms like a few minutes later to go off after you've like gone back to sleep, ideally in a dream, and then having those alarms trigger your lucidity. So like I've done stuff where I've worn a vibration, like a Fitbit, or any smartwatch, whatever, can probably has a vibration alarm, and you can set it to like go off at certain times. You can wake up before wake back to bed, go back to sleep, and then know that this vibration is coming, and that, or a sound or whatever is coming, and then know that that sound is supposed to trigger your lucidity. So you're kind of watching for it, and that can work for a lot of people. But I'll maybe talk a little bit more about that next class, since we're like way over right now. Let me go get my headphones. I'm gonna go get my headphones and then I'm gonna hop into Discord. But uh, yeah, thank you, Lucia. Oh yeah, reality checking. Can you unfocus your eyes in dreams? I don't know. Yeah, you can unfocus your eyes in lucid dreams. Yeah. Good luck, Lucia. Glad to have you here, and glad that it was a little bit helpful for you. But as far as, yeah, Orenin, can you unfocus your eyes? Yes. Like, yeah, you can. Again, remember, like, can you do X in a lucid dream? The answer is almost always yes, right? If you can formulate it as a question, like, you can probably do it. So with that, guys, thank you. You all are troopers for sticking it out. I know it's like can be a lot of information, and you don't have to do everything that I've described today, right? Just do something. Try to do what works for you. Try just journaling this week. If you have interesting dreams, share them on the Discord, and maybe we'll have like a discussion section midweek to talk about like experiences that we've had or progress that people have made. If you have a lucid dream, definitely post it in the Discord because like we want to celebrate that and we'd love to hear about that. So yeah, yeah, thank you guys for coming. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream, and I'll see y'all in the Discord for anyone that wants to join in just a second. So thanks, guys.